Hello everyone. So the book that I read is called The Devil's Cup, and the author is Stuart Lee Allen, and this book was published in 1999. So in this book, the author went to different countries and he wanted to see if coffee was related to the events that took place in history. So he would travel to these places and he would do his research and he would figure out how coffee was related to certain events in history. This was kind of a harder read for me because he would talk about going to these places and he would talk about the events in history, and he would also relate those events to coffee. So for me, I had to research. Like, I would have to read some of it and then I would have to go and look it up and be like, okay, where is this place at? And then I have to see, oh, where is he going next? How long did it take him to get there? And it was just a harder read for me, but I really did enjoy it because I like coffee and I really like history too. And it's cool how he tied the two together. One of the main questions that he asked was, could coffee be one of the main driving points in history? And ultimately, if you read this book, you can see that you can relate the two together. They have a really close relation if you look at it a certain way. If I was relating this to an elementary school lesson, I would base the lesson on geography. So we would talk about we would talk about this book, and we would talk about how he was saying how a lot of the everyday commodities that everyone uses, they're used in different countries and they're used for different reasons. But it's also cool to recognize that, like, for example, coffee does not taste the same everywhere you go. So, like, one of his main things in this book was that he was explaining how in this country it may taste one way, but in a different country it may taste another way. I think that would be cool for the kids to see. So, for our lesson plan, we would say the objective would be, is coffee the substance that drives history? So, we would talk about this book, and we would talk about coffee and how it all tastes different in different places and how it may have impacted history. So for the bell ringer, I would ask the kids, how could coffee have impacted history? And they would think, what is coffee and how could it have impacted history? And then we would also do a KWL chart. So we would talk about different countries, and we would talk about how coffee has affected these countries over the years. And they would make a KWL chart talking about the things that they've learned, the things they want to learn, the things that they already knew before we started the lesson. And then finally, we would get into groups. I would give them assigned groups, and they would be assigned one country, and they would do research on that country. They would ask me questions, and they would basically research how that country was affected by coffee, and did it play a role in the events that has happened there in history. I think this would be a good project that relates to not only geography, but also the events that have happened in history.